Hello, everyone. Inner peace. Inner peace. I just got back from seeing Kung Fu Panda 3, and I'm here to give you my review of the movie because, who knows, I'm a bit of a fan when it comes to these movies. I loved the first one a lot. I thought it was a great movie. Really great movie as a whole. And then the second one really brought it up, and I thought it was an absolute excellent movie. And I remember about 2 years ago watching both of these movies and saying to myself, if there is no third one, I'm gonna be really pissed off, because the second one in particular ends on the note of, ooh, there may be a sequel coming, essentially, and boy was I excited if there was going to be a sequel or not. So there was no real announcement of the third one coming out, but when I heard, essentially, when there was a trailer for the movie, I'm like, really? I'm like, oh gosh. I'm like, okay, I was really excited for it. The trailer came out, I made my video on that, and I got to see the movie that I was promised to see 5 years in the making. And is it as good as the first two? Yes. I was really anticipating this movie for a good year or two now, at least. Like I said before, I'm a huge fan of the first two, and I'm at least building up to see this movie. And of course, the anticipation is too much for me, and the movie, in my opinion, really blew me away. Essentially, what is the story of this movie that you asked me? The story of this movie is essentially, a long time ago, within the universe that is of Kung Fu Panda, Master Oogway had a brother-in-law or something like that, of this character, of this ox-like character voiced by J.K. Simmons. And there's a really interesting past with them, but essentially Master Oogway banished him to the spirit world, and then, of course, you've seen it from the first movie. Master Oogway goes into the spirit world himself, and you see him kind of transcend out, essentially, in the first movie, and then in this movie, his long lost brother, in a way, comes back to the mortal world, the physical world, to send a message that he's out to get, out to destroy the world, and he has these weapons made out of jade, and he essentially goes out and destroys all the big notable names within Kung Fu, like a crocodile, and like Master Crocodile and Oxen, and all these other great legends that they have. And essentially, he's now coming after the Furious Five, the Master, and the Dragon Warrior, voiced by Jack Black, here once again. And while not just that is happening, but like with the backstory of that, Master Oogway and Talon, as the villain in the first movie, it's kind of confusing. But one of the things that they had to do is that Master Oogway, within the past, was once hurt in battle, and of course they were brothers. They went to this village of pandas that brought them back that brought his friend almost near from death, and essentially so that his return from the spiritual world to the physical world is connected within Poe's, not really his backstory, but like Poe's father comes in, because his father says, I'm sent here by the universe. And that's not what they advocatively say, up to a certain point. The story's a bit complex, honestly. It's a bit complex, I will say. I will say this as a short. An ancient prophecy tells of this character coming back from the spiritual world to the physical world to destroy and abolish all the Kung Fu masters, and to get their inner chi. And essentially, Poe and is taken in by his real biological father, because his adoptive father is a goose. A goose raised a panda. That's gonna raise some questions, obviously. And that's probably my only little nitpick with the movie. The story itself is hard to describe. It's a bit confusing in context as a whole. It's really, really hard to tell to the younger audience, and essentially just drag them along, and hopefully they'll get the story on their own page, and what they get out of the experience, because this is a movie for the whole family. Now, I'm saying it out loud, I freaking loved Kung Fu Panda 3. I freaking loved this movie. I never seen a movie so advocaatly beautiful, livid, gorgeous, and probably, in my opinion, the best animated movie since How to Train Your Dragon 2. I will thoroughly say that. I loved this movie. I loved the animation. I loved the story. I loved the characters. I loved the voice work. I loved so much of this freaking movie. If there is Kung Fu Panda juice, then I'm drinking it on essentially 7-Eleven refills all day long, because I love this movie. I absolutely love it. The villain, voiced by J.K. Simmons, is excellent. He is... I really love this villain. The same thing with the last movie, in Kung Fu Panda 2, where you had Gary Oldman voicing that villain, and I loved him in that movie. What I loved most about this movie as a whole is two things. Number one is the script. Like I said before, the plot as a whole in concept, not concept, but in the way they explain to kids, is a bit confusing, but it really works to the film's advantage of its inner philosophies and on the dialogue, and how it takes you through the whole story and the journey, and you really do feel that. And it's a powerful one at that. The other thing I love about this movie is, I already said it, it's the philosophy. How many films can anyone watching this, how many films to your knowledge, how many kid films have such an intricate, fascinating, and cool philosophy? The philosophy of Kung Fu and how it describes to all, and I was like, in this movie it's all about their inner chi, and how about it's essentially about being, of course, their inner chi, but it's not just that, but it's all about of their inner self, of who they are, of how they can't be anyone else, of course, but all about embracing who you are, and and understanding who you are and what your role takes. And it's so profound, so truthful, so genuine. And there's nothing talking. It doesn't lower itself to children. I genuinely love the message in this movie. I really freaking love the message. It's so good. It tells children to be happy with who you are. You are who you are. Don't change a thing. You really are perfect. But still, you gotta work at your strengths. You have your weaknesses, but you gotta work at that to improve your strengths. You are not perfect. It really does have this. Okay, in essence, I may be reading too much into the film, but I just genuinely love the message within this movie. Like I said last year, I know this is very easy for me with Inside Out, because I think it's not a bad thing that they're sending Inside Out, but it's the way it was executed. The philosophy, I thought, the message within that was kind of twisted in a weird way, and it was hard for kids to get a grasp on it. But in this movie, It doesn't give it to the kids on a silver platter. It doesn't order something at their level. It comes across in this film very sweet, very truthful, very genuine, and doesn't shame you in the process. It doesn't talk down to you. It really gets it across really great, and I hope kids see this movie and feel better of who they are, embrace themselves, and understand that there's nothing wrong with them. And I think there's nothing better, in my opinion, to tell kids that there's nothing fucking wrong with them. And again, embrace who you are, and essentially be in greatness with your great. Is like embracing your good, but also learning from your bad, and that is a phenomenal message. But in this film, and also there's a great message of Po becoming a teacher. And I like how that transitions into Kung Fu, of also like the traditional like learning, or at least teaching the future, the messages of the past. And I don't mean like in the biblical sense, But I mean that in a philosophical sense, like bringing on through past generation stories and philosophies and mindsets. They aren't too extreme, but they're very good intent, and they're very peaceful and very much in harmony with each other and love and passion. I think that's very great and very, very genuine. Like I said before, many times before, I could be reading too much into this film, but I am really livid about this film. I love this film. The animation, this is probably the best animated DreamWorks film. At this point, it's so well animated. And there's a point, I love how this film goes through of like, the villain not just defeating people, but he's like, he gets that inner chi. I think that's really cool. The inner chi thing, I think is super fascinating. And it's extremely well done, in my opinion. It's really, really well done. I absolutely adore that. There's some things I'm really gushing about this film. I really am. I just love it. What else do I love? The voice cast, once again, is excellent. You have J.K. Simmons as a villain. He's great. You have Bryan Cranston voicing Poe's real father. I thought he was excellent. He brings that strength. Like, when you hear Bryan Cranston, he talks like this. Like, you can feel the heaviness, the genuine nature, but also the good intent and heart that comes along with that voice. And he really does sound very, very fatherly. Very strong and stern, but very, very kind and well-meaning in essence. And J.K. Simmons, I thought, was excellent. He really was. There's not one moment where I'm like, oh, that's the guy who's saying, Spider-Man, get me those pictures. He's like, no. This is him almost trying to reach another level on himself. He's not doing the typical J.K. Simmons thing. And I thought he was excellent. He was so good, and he was so intimidating as a villain. The villain, like, in the end, kind of like big fight scene, I love how they incorporate the physical world of all the action type of stuff like that. They bring into it, but also, like, they're also bringing into a really interesting perspective, a non-violence approach to it. It's like they trick the Jade Warriors into not really, like, physically destroying them, but, like, off-balancing them, or there's a really interesting way they progress throughout their final fight in this movie, and I think it's really great. It shows almost like a non-violent approach to it, like how a Shaolin monk would do. Like, they have, like, it's like, I am definitely being way too deep in this film. But it's so cute. The film is also just adorable. Like, there's so many moments where it would just went, aww. Like, and I saw this in a packed theater. This theater I saw it in was about 90% full. All the kids were having the freaking time of their lives, and I'm really amazed how film can do that. Especially kids film. If you don't keep your kids' attention all the way through, then you've royally screwed up. But this film had every kid, to my knowledge, in that theater glued to the screen, and I was so amazed by that. I loved it. I loved how the audience, not just a general audience, but these are younger kids who, within all contexts, I wouldn't say they're not smart, but they have a short attention span. Kids are like, ooh, I'll do this. What's that? It's like, really, and this film keeps their attention full through. This movie is an hour and 40 minutes, I think. It's the same length as the other two films. Is it 28 minutes? 90 minutes. Yeah, it's probably about the same limit. At the same time, I think it's really good. I almost have no problems with the film at all. Literally, it's just, I almost have no problems with this movie. It seems like every single Kung Fu Panda movie gets better, and it always has that great message of don't judge the book by its cover. It's like, oh, Kung Fu Panda, come on, that's gonna be silly, right? Shit, that was weird. I should just put that down gently. But it has that great message of don't judge a book by its cover. Like, when the first one came out, a lot of people were like, really? This is gonna be stupid. And everyone walked out of the theater going, that was great. That was literally great. And I didn't see the first movie in theaters, but I only saw the second one in theater. I saw the second one in theaters. I loved that one when it came out, and I love this movie. I almost cannot find a problem with it. I will say the story is a bit too complex. Like, with with Poe finding his inner chi and becoming fulfillingly the Dragon Warrior, and him trying to get with his real father and his real father and his adoptive father have conflicts, and this whole thing of training in the Panda Valley, and there's so much on the film's plate, but it balances out so well with what it really executes, and I think it's a phenomenal film because I am going big with this rating, 100%. 100%, I love this film. Granted, it has a lot of things that bear on it, and there's so much to bring. Like I said before, there's so much going on that it could be a bit overload for kids, and it is very, very fast paced, but it still slows down. But does it do that in a degrading way? It does it in a very smart, good, very smart way, and I really respect him for doing that. In the end, I fucking loved Kung Fu Panda 3. And it's just a great movie with a phenomenal message, incredible philosophy, gorgeous animation, brilliant storytelling, everyone in the movie literally giving an excellent vocal performance. Not a real performance, but it's a vocal performance. It's much different. I cannot. Okay, this is just a pet peeve of mine. People say, oh yeah, an animated movie like Kung Fu Panda, or How to Train Your Dragon 2, or Shrek. It's like, people always say there's performances. They're not performances, they're voice casts. A performance is giving your whole physical body into the screen, like how normal actors would do when you see them on screen, or unless they're CG mocapped or whatever. This isn't a fucking performance, it's a voice cast. I'm sorry, but I had to get that off my chest. That is such a huge pet peeve of mine. Why do people say it's a performance? It's not a performance, it's a voiced performance. But in the end, I'm sorry. I had to get that off my chest. In the end, I genuinely loved Kung Fu Panda 3. One last thing before I go is that there's a point in the end where they both go into the spiritual realm, and Poe, voiced by Jack Black in the movie, meets Master Oogway, and that sequence is probably one of my favorites within all time. That's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite moments of the movie, when Poe and Master Oogway talk in the spiritual realm. I could not get enough of that. I wanted more of that. And also, since this is a final installment, I don't know for sure if this is a final installment or not. If this is just a trilogy, then I'll be very satisfied and happy with that. If there's more, unlike Toy Story 4, where I'll be furious, but if there's more Kung Fu Panda movies coming out, then I'll take it. Even though we already have, in my opinion, a solid trilogy. And the way the movie ends gives it such great wrap-up feel to it. A real finesse. And when it ends, you feel like it's been tied together with this beautiful sylvan bow. It's just like Kung Fu Panda 3, the trilogy. I'm like, I love you, film. I don't know how much the kids love this movie or not, but I loved it. I almost have no problem with this film. The stakes are high, great animation, great story, great philosophy, yada. Like I said before, 100% See this movie if you have kids, or if you know someone who has kids who are younger than 10 years old, or whatever, however old they are. Take them to see this movie. Don't take them to see the Norman the North crap movie. That movie. I haven't seen that, but I've heard of it. Take your kids to see this movie. It's so worth it. And in the end, I loved Kung Fu Panda 3. can't believe I'm saying that. I loved this movie. Period. I freaking loved Kung Fu Panda 3. I cannot believe I'm literally saying that. Physically. Literally as well.